Hey everyone, today we are going to be looking at how I lube switches for mechanical keyboards. To begin, here's the list of items that you will need before you start. You'll need a switch opener, or a screwdriver, the switches you want to lube, your lubricant of choice, in this case I'm using Krytox 205 Grade 0, distributed by Apex Keyboards, and a small paintbrush. It's also helpful to have some paper towel handy to wipe down your brush in between lubing, as well as a keycap puller and switch opener when you are ready to install these switches onto your board. The switch opener features these prongs that allow you to get underneath the housing of the switch and pop it open. I chose Krytox 205 Grade 0 simply because it was what was available at the time, and I think it's a very versatile lubricant for both different styles of switches as well as stabilizers. For the brush, I just picked up this acrylic brush from a local art store. The thing of note here is the size of it. A number 2 is a really good size in my opinion because it fits right nicely in the housings and the sides of the switch, creating a nice even coat. And of course, the switches that I'm lubing today are Zealios 67-gram tactile switches from Zeal PC, based in Canada. Side note, these switches are awesome, and I'm going to be coming up with a review on these very shortly. To open the switch, line up the switch with the appropriate teeth on the opener. Then, apply pressure along one edge of the switch until the top housing starts to come apart. Repeat this process on the opposite edge. One thing to note here, make sure that you have a hand on the top housing or else the spring inside of the switch will send everything flying. Take that piece of advice with somebody with experience. The switch then should come apart freely, and you will be able to take all of the components out and set them aside. For Kale style switches, like this Halo True, this switch opener will not work as the build of the switch is different. For this type of switch, take a very small flathead screwdriver and insert it underneath the side clip and press up. Once you have it halfway open, move to the other side and repeat the process. Again, make sure to be holding the top switch when you fully open it up. Alright, now repeat for 80 or more times. My recommendation is to open up everything all at once and then start your lubing process. I've also grabbed some plastic containers here so it was easy for me to sort all of the individual parts. Of course, this is a time lapse, but I would say in total it took about 20 minutes or so to open everything up. Alright, on to lubing. First, open up your container of lubricant. Then, grab your brush and apply a very thin layer of lubricant. Make sure to wipe off any excess lube on the edge of the container. You really don't need a lot of lube. This 5 milliliter container should last for several hundred switches. Then, grab your bottom housing. I applied 2 brushes of lube on the vertical sliders on either side, and then all around the bottom stem, where the spring will sit. From here, I set the bottom housing aside for now, and reapply more lube onto my brush. Next, I grab the spring and apply lube on the bottom and the top of the spring. Just as a side note, after I filmed this video, I did find that there was an easier way to lube your springs. You can do it the way that I'm demonstrating in the video, but a faster solution is to put all of your springs in a plastic bag, add a small amount of lube into the bag, and then shake the springs around like crazy. This produces a nice even coating and will save you a ton of time. I've linked in the video description below a video from Brandon Taylor who does an excellent job of explaining this process. Once I'm done lubing the springs, I put it in the spot on the bottom housing and refresh my lube. Then, I grab the stem. Holding the top of the stem in one hand, I evenly apply lubricant across all 4 sides of the stem, making sure to avoid lubricating the legs. This is because, for tactile switches, you should not lubricate the legs, as this can result in a loss of the bump that tactile switches are known for. For linear switches, you are okay to lubricate the legs. Once I'm done, I put the top switch onto the spring, making sure that the legs line up with the contact points on the switch, and then take the top housing and close it all up. In total, this entire process of lubing, about 80 switches or so, took around 90 minutes to 2 hours. I would strongly recommend putting on some of your favorite tunes or a movie while doing this, as it can get pretty boring. And now let's see if all of that work was worth it. Here I have 2 switches. One is lubed and one is unlubed. I'm going to let you decide which one you think is which, and then I'll let you know after the sound test. So what do you think? Well, here's the answer. Now keep in mind the sound difference is just one aspect of lubing switches. I think that the feel of the switch is greatly improved as well, because overall the whole switch feels a lot smoother to type on and just a little bit snappier when you're moving around, either gaming or typing. Now, as for the sound, I do think that it does create a nice reduction in that little pinging noise that you get sometimes with different switches. But overall, I personally think lubing switches is worth it. If this is going to be your first time lubing switches, just take it slow, and always realize that you can go and apply more lube if it's not lubricated enough. But if you have too much, it's much more of a hassle to clean off your switch and then reapply lube, hoping that you get it right the second time. But I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think lubing switches is worth it? Or do you think Patrick just spent 2 hours of his time that he could be doing something else? If you liked this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, or if you like what I've been doing around here, please consider subscribing. It means a lot for a small YouTube channel like mine, and of course the feedback and commentary that I receive from all of you on a regular basis has been so awesome to see and really keeps me motivated to be making more of these videos for you guys. So with that, thanks a lot, and we'll see you in the next video.